It's your monthly Squadron 42 update, and this time it's for November 2022. We still don't have hard dates on a release for Star Citizen's single-player campaign, Squadron 42 Episode 1. However, at CitizenCon it was hinted at around 2 years-ish, or within 2 years, that we'd have the game in our hands, but the truth is, it's done when it's done, and we don't really know. Cloud Imperium have been expanding their studios, and their employees have started coming back to the office. Heavy hitters and the core of the development are now all in the new Manchester, UK studio, and Cloud Imperium are looking to hire a load more staff over the next 3 years, hopefully to fill that studio. I think 1,200 people can fit in that studio, and I think they have like 400 going on 500 there now, question mark. At CitizenCon, they revealed some updates to Esidio Station, one of the important but relatively minor locations in Squadron 42. There are big updates with AI that are now able to search for a player and share the information with each other, as well as mixed battle tactics to really put pressure on a player in combat. A new Mobiglass UI is coming, there's a big star map overhaul. They're adding a mini-map to the game. FPS scanning and radar improvements have been made, so you're going to much more easily be able to discover and understand your surroundings and items in it, or tag them, sort of important objects. And improved player interaction systems coming in as well, with objects and doors being a lot more usable. You'll sort of much more easily be able to, at a glance, interact with an object, grab it, that sort of stuff. A load of character improvements have been done with EVA, so sort of moving outside of a ship in zero gravity, pushing and pulling across the stations in zero G. That sort of stuff is now much more tangible. Ladders are much more usable, and you can fire weapons off them and jump off them, all that sort of jazz now too. Hover trolleys, puzzle items, and a load of other work has been done too. But beyond all that, there are a load more updates with the latest Squadron 42 monthly report. So let's jump into that. Although I will be omitting the AI and NPC updates for the most part, although there will be some here, into their own video because they're quite in-depth this time. The animation team continued to improve zero-G gameplay and animate new weapons, including a coil grenade and coil rifle. They then moved into blocking out restraint animations and creating a female spec ops and guard animations. Blockouts were also done for bin rummaging and the beggar archetype. For the vandal, further work was done on executions, pilot posing, and sharp turns to improve locomotion. Bespoke locomotion was created for the story characters too. Work was done on animations for the firing range, and the rig for quadruped predators was tested. That's pretty exciting. Is that Vandal running at you on all fours, or is that some interesting alien animals and wildlife? A 3-day mocap shoot was done at the new Manchester stage, focusing on stealth takedowns and mastery levels, as well as various types of combatants and social AI improvements, sort of all making the world feel a bit more living and blending into their environments appropriately. Character art continued modelling major Navy clothing assets and the Screaming Gallison's armour. They also began skinning assets for Shubin. Tech animation continued to support character art, processing the remaining scan data for character heads and creating white box rigging for 2 key models. Gameplay features. Following on from persistent entity streaming, PES, the Squadron 42 team began implementing the load and save systems. Because PES stores the state of all entities in the universe, the team can utilize it to save progress. They're currently in the first stages of testing, saving, and reloading, ensuring everything restores correctly. The Mission Manager app is currently being implemented into players' Mobiglass, allowing them to access the mission briefing, current and completed objectives, and a report on how well they did once a mission is complete. Additional polish work was given to the new character customizer based on feedback from design. Work continued on the crane mechanic, adding additional modes for varying types of cranes and their functionality. This will allow the operator to attach, drop, and stack crates. New security token functionality was also worked on to control access to various aspects of a level. Gameplay story continued using motion capture data to update scenes. The main scene worked on was Chapter 11, which, due to the environmental layout changes, needed a full implementation pass to get it fully functional. Several scenes were also updated to make them work with AI actors, who are now able to enter and leave smoothly. Start and end poses were updated for scenes in Chapter 4, 6, and 8. Some of these had an extra polish pass to make them functional better with the player. 2 new scenes were created to allow characters to work on top of the Gladius. These are still works in progress and will require new mocap at a later date. The FPS level design team focused on one of the larger locations in-game that spans multiple chapters. They're closing in on finalizing the last few blockouts in this environment, and gameplay implementation is well underway. With combat AI taking shape, FPS began placing greater emphasis on dialing in enemy confrontations. The flight team continued to collaborate with the other design teams to push the first half of the game to a more polished state. Part of the game's dialogue was written before certain mechanics were in a final state, so some of the tutorials were tweaked to accommodate the final designs. They also worked closely with narrative to flesh out some of the quieter gameplay sections. Narrative continued with detailed reviews of gameplay chapters in addition to alterations to several existing scenes to improve clarity. A handful of new scenes had dialogue written and scratch audio recorded. This included a scene with two outlaws debating the best way to breach a locked door. They said, a small scene like this serves to provide some flavour and life to AI combatants, but also helps direct the player towards their next objective and how to potentially bypass a puzzle. The next steps will be to test the dialogue additions during future playthroughs and make any additional adjustments as needed. Development of the dynamic dialogue system continued, which is used by background characters as they go about their lives. This latest pass led to a more concise line set that allows for greater flexibility with how lines are used to accommodate a variety of scenarios. These background characters are not meant to distract players from scripted character content, but provide a general sense of activity and immersion. The team added names and description strings for a variety of naval uniforms, bespoke weapons, and military gadgets. They also reviewed updates to the military mobiglass with regards to how mission information will be displayed. They also began to validate recorded audio to make sure it matched subtitles. They said sometimes during an actor's performance, they can adjust a line slightly from how it was written, and it's important to us that the subtitles are as accurate as possible. The UI team continued to work closely with the vehicle team on the heads-up display, HUDs, and multifunction displays, MFDs. This involved adjusting the HUD to incorporate new elements along with reworking the UI style of one manufacturer to give it more character and make it feel more unique. Now that the vehicle team has some of the new MFD screens working in-game, a pass was done to improve their appearance and help with the building blocks UI setup and create a solid template to work from going forward. UI also concepted several more interactive screens for gameplay puzzles and made visual and control improvements to the star map. The VFX team continued overhauling the particle library, making the most of several of improvements to the particle system to allow for greater flexibility. This includes being able to override various settings per effect in a level, letting the artists focus on a higher quality of effect without having to maintain each instance version. Further improvements were made to the new quantum travel effects, with new refractive particles spawning around a ship's assigned distance field. The VFX team also implemented a task pool, which allows the artists to tackle various miscellaneous tasks that have accumulated in a backlog. They said this typically consists of minor bugs and quality of life improvements, so it has been great to be able to focus on these things while continuing to support the major content and features. Boom. That is it for your Squadron 42 development update this time. As I said, I omitted a load of the AI and NPC updates. We'll make that into another video. But what do you think? Do you like the fact that a load of mechanics are tested in Squadron 42's development branch before being put into the persistent universe? The idea there is that they've got a bit more meat on their bones. They're not as rough around the edges. Would you prefer it to be rough around the edges, but then pumping out content constantly? Are you really excited about Squadron 42? Do you think it's going to be ready in the next 2 years? Do you think the progress on Squadron 42 is not shared enough and they only share little bits? Or do you think it's fair enough and that they want to keep Squadron 42 information closer to their chest? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Please also check out my Star Citizen Persistent Universe monthly report. That's already up too.
Hello, I'm Winston Churchill, and I use NordVPN to defend the Internet Empire. We will fight the ants on the beaches. We shall fight on the Internet. We shall fight the trackers and the malware. Whether we want to watch Netflix for another country or have greater accessibility to the Internet, we will defend our island home. At any rate, that is what we're trying to do.
Thanks, Winston Churchill. What? What do you mean, Tin? That wasn't Winston Churchill? Point still stands. Go to nordvpn.com/BoredGamer to get yourself discounted NordVPN or use the links below. Every month we have a ship giveaway. For November, we're giving away a Crusader Spirit C1. It's a fantastic looking multi-role ship that can fit a vehicle in the back or a load of cargo, and it looks really cool. It's got loads of forward-facing weaponry and a tractor beam. As it's a concept ship though, the winner will have a Cutlass back in the meantime as a loaner. It comes with access to the game and lifetime insurance too, so bam! Even if you don't have Star Citizen stuff yet, you can get straight into the game with this. It's all you need. Just comment on any of my videos this month to be in for a chance of winning. A massive thank you to everyone that has used the join button under my videos to become a channel member, and my Patreons. You guys are awesome. It really does help the channel. Please consider becoming one of those lovely people too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the verse.